Hi everyone, my name is Greg from the Laser channel where we learn, create, and share. In this video, I'm going to be taking a closer look at the Two Trees TS2 laser diode machine. Welcome back, and thanks for joining me for another video on the Laser channel. Previously, I already made a video on this machine featuring the unboxing, assembly, setup, and the connection to Lightburn software. I wanted to loop back and concentrate a little bit more on some of the special and unique features, especially with the price point that this TS2 comes in at. This machine has a really neat feature, and at the end of the video, I'm going to show you how to unlock this really cool feature inside the Lightburn software. Let me get started by some of the top 3 big features that people typically look at when they're looking or shopping for a laser machine. First and foremost, we're looking at the price. At the time of this recording, this machine is on sale for $539 US, and this is going to be an excellent value considering all the features and advancements and innovative features on this machine. We're going to be taking a look at that in just a little bit. Next up though, another common question is going to be, how powerful is the laser module? In this TS2, the version I have features a 20-watt laser module, and this is going to be on par with what is kind of now the current industry standard for tabletop laser diode machines. And lastly is the work area of the machine. This machine features a working width of 410 millimeters by a length of 410 millimeters squared. And when we convert this over to inches, this comes out to about 16.14. Once again, this is kind of the going standard for a tabletop laser machine. I'd like to draw our attention back to the price point of the machine being around that $500 mark again. Usually at this price point, we're going to find machines, they're very functional, they may have a 20-watt laser module, but they have a lot of features that are stripped off of the machine to make sure that they reach that price point. When I look at the TS2, there's actually a lot of innovative features included with the machine. The first one that really stands out is just the clean layout of the machine, and that's going to be thanks to the cable management system. The cable management system is going to be in the form of this energy chain. This one is on the x-axis, and it gets the same treatment on the y-axis along the side of the machine here. We'll also see that even though there is a cluster of cables here, and there's a good reason for that, and I'll touch base on that in just a minute, but they give ample room for my big hands and fingers to go in here and make these connections. We'll also see that each end of the cable is labeled here. And again, this one here is going to be labeled Z, and there's another label down here. Another area of the machine that I found very interesting, and it's very different from other machines on the market, and that is the carriage system in which the laser module moves around on the machine. And for that, we're going to take a look over at this side here. And normally, these guide wheels that are on the side here, they're normally above and below the side rail, but Two Trees decided to put that on the side. These wheels on the side, most machines, again, they'd have them vertically and they would have 2 wheels on the top and 1 wheel underneath, but this machine has 4 of them. Of course, there's going to be 1 in each of the corners, and if we peek over the top here, that is the 4th one. And normally when we have 4 wheels like this, we're going to see that one of them isn't going to really touch. However, when I go around and I fidget with each of these 4 wheels, I find that there is some resistance on each of these wheels, meaning that they all have good sound contact with this side rail so that it is going to be nice and smooth precision movement. When I take a look at the carriage system for the laser module, again, this carriage track system has 4 wheels. There's 2 of them on the top here, and then again, there's a wheel on the back. and one on the other side, again, making this a very smooth and precise movement for the laser module. Looping back to when I talked about the cable management system before, I said that there's a cluster of wires and connectors up at the top of the laser module here, and there's a good reason for that, and that is because this machine at its low price point has auto-focusing. So on the top here, there's a small little motor, and off to the side, to the back of the laser module, there is a sensor probe to detect the surface of the work area. Here's a closer look at this motor. This is the motor that's going to set the focus for the laser module. And if you don't want to let the software adjust this motor, they've got this convenient red handle on the top, and you can just manually turn that to get the adjustment that you want. And once you have that, there's a convenient little screw on the side here, and you can tighten that down. On the side of the laser module, right along here is going to be the probe. This is the probe that senses the surface of the work material, and that communicates through the software and back to the motor up here to get the perfect focus for the laser module. The motorized autofocus on a laser machine, exactly like this, I'm going to be referring to it as the Z-axis. So on a laser machine, we of course have the X-axis, and that moves side to side. Y is going to be back and forth. The third axis, of course, is going to be the Z-axis, and that will be up and down. And it's going to make sense when we take a look at that in just a minute in the Lightburn software, because that's how the software is going to be referring to how the machine moves around. Normally, with a lot of machines on the market, in order to get this Z-axis set up, we have to go into the Lightburn software into a special area, and we have to start typing in some hieroglyphics. I mean, that's what I call it, but we have to type in lines of code, and a lot of those machines will tell you exactly how to type that in. But that syntax, it has to be typed in very carefully. There's a lot of room for error. And that's why Two Trees supplies the file to get this set up in the Lightburn software, and I believe they have it for Laser Gerbil as well. This is going to be a great segue to go into Lightburn software and take a look at this Z-axis and the autofocus. But before I do that, I almost skipped one of the most important things, and that is just how smooth and consistent, and most of all, how precise this machine really runs. Prior to making this video, I was just running some general projects in the background, fun things that I enjoy making, and I made this 6-layer mandala, and this is something that I haven't glued together because I wanted to be able to show you close up what some of these different layers look like, minus this green layer that you can't see because I'm actually recording in front of a green screen. But I'm going to lay these out on the table here. I'm going to take a closer look at just how much detail this machine can really achieve. So here's the base layer. This isn't anything too special, but when we get into this first layer, we're going to see that there's all these little dots, all these little cutouts, and it did all of them flawlessly. And when I move on to the next color here, we're going to see that the shapes start getting a little bit larger, but they're just as intricate. And in fact, there's even more of them. And I move on to this Pepto Pink. We're going to see we've got all these little diamond shapes and all these other oddly shaped pieces in here. We're going to see that all of these were cut out very perfectly, minus this little spot right here. And that is because when I was cutting this out, I bumped this sheet of paper a little bit, and I chose to just kind of deal with that little spot. Moving on to the next one, we get even more fine detail in all these cutouts. And finally, moving on to this top layer here, I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Hopefully we're still in focus, and just look at all of this incredible detail. A little bit later on in the video, I'm actually going to load up one of these graphics, and I'll show you a little bit of a time lapse of one of these being cut out. All right, let's jump into the computer and take a look at some of the special features for the Z-axis and the autofocus system. Inside Lightburn, I'm going to show you the special tab that has all the controls for this motorized Z-axis, including the autofocus feature. All of these controls are going to be located within console, and it's going to be all of these buttons here. And we can manually lift the Z-axis by 20 millimeters, or we can hit engrave. This engrave button is going to set the ideal focus at the very top of the work material. It's also the setting that I use when I do very thin paper products, just like the cardstock that I used for this mandala. These other buttons here are going to be when we're cutting different thicknesses of material, such as 2 millimeter, 3 millimeter, and 5 millimeter. And for some of you who might think that I'm over explaining this, some people might think that this is going to be an offset distance or that's the focus distance. This is just the real simple way of communicating with us users when you're cutting through something that's one of these thicknesses, say a 3 millimeter plywood material. That's the button that we would use. Now, these different buttons here are going to set the focus closer to the material, and that's one of the things that we do when we start cutting through thicker material is we start setting the laser closer to it, setting the focus more into the material rather on the top surface. This will provide a deeper, cleaner cut. And I'd like to demonstrate for you the autofocus off the surface. Now, right now, we're of course on honeycomb, and this probe isn't going to really reliably detect the surface of this. So I keep one of these aluminum engraving cards on hand, and I'm going to put that down on the surface here, and I'll get a very good autofocus setting off of that card. And all I need to do is hit this engrave button, and it'll initiate the autofocus feature. It's really that easy, and I'm set in perfect focus now, ready for a project. Speaking of project, I'm going to select just one of these mandala layers and load in some material and just show you just how smooth this machine operates. Inside Lightburn, we're going to see that I have the most intricate layer of this mandala selected for this challenging cutout. And again, we're going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to see all of these precise cuts that go all the way around here. I've got everything all set. All I need to do is turn on my air assist, my exhaust hose, and of course, put my safety glasses on. This is one of the best feelings when you're working on a project like that, and that is to pick up the material and see that it came out all clean. There's nothing that hung up during this project. There's no, I call them hanging chads when there's a little piece left over, but just look at all of that. Absolutely beautiful. There's not a cut line that is out of place anywhere on this cardstock mandala. We're now at that part of the video where I promised I'm going to show you how to unlock a really cool feature using this Z-axis. For that, we're going to go back into the Lightburn software. The first thing I'm going to do in order to unlock this really neat feature is navigate to Edit, Device Settings, and we're going to look at this Z control. We need to check this little box here to enable Z-axis. Now, the software behind the scenes, this is already enabled in order to use that autofocus feature. Checking this box turns on features located in other areas of the Lightburn software. This looks good, and I'll hit OK. And we're going to dive inside this layer, double click that, and I call this Z indexing. And what this is going to do is help you get cleaner, deeper engravings and cuttings. And what you do to use this feature is you set your focus like you normally would at the very top of your work material. But at the end of each pass, whether you're cutting or engraving, you will index the laser module down a preset amount. So on each pass, that laser module is going to move down a predetermined amount depending on what we set. Here, I'm going to set the number of passes at 3 so that we can see this feature in action and the Z-step per pass. And right now I am in inches, so I'm going to have this index about a 1/16 of an inch, and decimal form, that will be 0.06. That looks good. And I'm going to hit start here in just a minute, and we're going to watch what this does. I'm all set. I'm going to hit the start here, and this is going to go around. It indexed, and it indexed again. Look at that. In case you missed that, let's watch that one more time. Let me know what you think about Z-indexing on the Two Trees machine, especially at the really attractive price point that this machine comes in. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that I was able to demonstrate for you the speed and the delicate precision that this machine can perform. If you like this video, show it some love by hitting that like button, hitting the subscribe button, or ringing that notification bell. Doing any number of those things really helps the channel out, but more so, it's a great way of connecting content like this with viewers like you. Until next time, learn, create, and share.